Let me just pull it up real quick because it's in my downloads. Pennsylvania Common Core?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, everybody, we're ready to begin. And you can see Jen in the bottom corner and a proper introduction. Jen is a fourth grade teacher at Sinking Spring. Some of you have worked closely with her as you're in the same building or in the same grade level.
Or had my children.
Or had her children. And she so graciously agreed to meet with us this morning to talk to us a little bit about some of the things that she's doing in her class. So thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. Okay, so Katie asked me to talk to you about an idea I had on nonfiction using the Common Core. I have been going through kind of a change where I would really like my kids to do more of the learning and me be more of the guide on the side. My journey started a couple years ago with Amy and Katie going through the PLP program. And so I've been really looking for a lot of ways that my kids could develop their own learning styles and be able to teach themselves instead of me being the one directing. So the objective on the board is the Common Core standard, the PA Common Core 1.2, reading informational text. I think that's up there. Is that up there, Amy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, where the students read, understand, and respond to informational text with emphasis on comprehension, making connections among ideas and between texts with focus on the textual evidence. And you can see that I also put up there what it looks like in grade K through 5. So my lesson that I'm sharing today really focuses on text features. My students had led themselves through what the text features were by starting off with just examining nonfiction books. I threw out a whole bunch of nonfiction books and had them brainstorm what features they saw and just kind of brainstorm how those features they thought helped them understand the subject area better. Then they went to the iPads and they did a lot of research, and they came up with a presentation on the text features, definitions, examples. Most of them chose to use Keynote for this. Some used Educreation, but they were just simply exploring what the text features are and examples of the text features. So I wanted to push them even further, and that's where this idea came up with. What I did was I put them in groups. Most of the time they work in groups anyway, but I put them in groups and threw out 4 selections at them that had no text features, all nonfiction. So Amy, if you want to put just kind of show them one of those text selections.
So
it would be a text selection, I believe. Okay. Text selection 1, text selection 2.
Yeah. We had text selection 1 up.
That's fine. Okay. So which one is that?
The dancer put a cardigan sweater over her leotard.
That was the origin of where words come from. So I shot out at them using Google Drive 4 nonfiction text articles. One was on Sequoia, one was on The Origin of Words, which is the one you saw. One was on Everglades, and one was on whales and dolphins. And they read through that with their partner, and they chose one. And once they chose one, then their job was to create a user-friendly nonfiction text by adding text features to them. So they went on Google Drive and they were asked to arrange the text. They could cut, they could paste, they could change the format, they could change font and color. They were also asked to add graphs, diagrams, insets, and any of the text features that they had already explored in their presentation. So they were basically asked to include font styles, diagrams, charts and graphs, headings and subheadings, captions, table of contents, glossary, and index. So they were to make this so that their classmates could better understand the nonfiction text. And my hope was that they would understand why text features are used. So do you want to show some of those examples, Amy?
Sure. Let me see. Okay. Kate?
Okay. Well, let me pull it up on mine, too.
Okay. There we go. And she did the Everglades.
Okay. So Kate's up there, and it's not pulling up on my computer. Okay. So Kate, actually, she worked by herself because she was actually on a Disney trip. So maybe that wasn't a great one to pull up the first time, but she was on a Disney trip. So she actually created this herself. You saw what is the words, I broke them down into sections. She added, if you're on the first page, she added the section names. So she had to add what the contents were. And she also had to add the heading names. So she basically had to read each section, and she had to come up with what is the main idea. And from that, she had to come up with a subheading name. And then she went into each section, and she added a picture for section 1. In section 2, she bolded the word Everglade as one of her key vocabularies.
Okay, we're on.
If we could keep pulling down.
Section 3.
Page 2. She came up with a selection name for section 3 as what are the Everglades, showing that she knew that this was giving us more information about the Everglades and why they are special. She highlighted the bolded word endangered.
Keep on going?
Yep, I'm keeping going. Section 4, all about the rivers of the Everglades. Once again, she had to come up with that subheading. Highlight the bolded words. Section 5 is basically the same.
Okay, now we're seeing section 6.
Section 6, basically the same. And then if you pull down, she also created a glossary.
And an index.
And then she also had to create the index. And instead of page numbers, because we didn't have page numbers, they were instructed to put the section number.
Okay, cool. Would you like me to pull up another example?
Yes, why don't you pull up Brady's and Jimmy's on the whales?
Okay. There we go.
I believe they use more color.
Okay. So right now we're looking at the table of contents.
Table of contents, and once again, they created everything. Once again, the numbers correspond with the sections. I created the sections to break it down a whole lot easier for them. So you see at the bottom of page 1, their pages are a little bit off, but that's okay. They added pictures and diagrams of what a whale is, going on to page 2, and a dolphin. Their subheadings, you can see, are the mammals. They have highlighted, I'm just kind of scrolling through page 2. They have highlighted all the bolded words. They've added some graphs and some diagrams to show how big the baleen whale was, for example. All this they had to research and find online.
Okay, so now we're looking at killer whales.
Okay.
We see the added image.
Yep, an added picture. They actually even put in some subscripts, footnotes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Section 6, they added a diagram to show what the parts of the bottlenose whale was.
And now we're looking at the glossary.
And then they have a glossary. And then they have their index. And they did a nice job at including all the different sections that the words come up in. And they had to, a big thing for them, which they didn't think of, that they had to go back and do, was to alphabetize their index when they first brought it up to me, it wasn't alphabetized. So we had to do a lot of talking about those features also, which I actually didn't really think of. I just thought, oh, they would remember to alphabetize it, but they didn't. So, okay.
Did you have anything else to share with before we take some
yes,
questions?
I did want to share. If you will pull up the objectives.
Let me see. Here they are. Okay.
So, besides the Common Core standards, these were the 5 main objectives that I wanted my students to do. And this is pretty much what I want my students to do with most of the projects and most of the work they do in my classroom. I wanted them to, first of all, create a project with the knowledge that they have already gained about the text features. I wanted them to give learning a purpose. By adding the text features, their goal was to make sure another person could understand the text further. I wanted them to develop their research skills, which included finding and evaluating sources. And you can see the last one, they definitely did a lot of hunting for the best diagrams, pictures that would add more information to the text. I definitely always want them to collaborate with their peers. And they also did a lot of developing their technological skills. They had to do a lot in Google Drive, which sometimes isn't always the most user-friendly, but everything was created in Google Drive. So they really had to learn how to bold, how to change their fonts, how to change their pages, and just adding the graphics and moving them around so that they were in a nice format so other people could read. Okay. So those were basically my 5 objectives that I came up and wanted them, and I thought they did a really nice job with that.
Christine has a question for you.
Okay, Christine.
Yes, I think I missed at the beginning how this started. Did they actually read a book, or was it selections that you gave to them, giving them general information, and then they had to go and find more information about the topic?
I gave them, I think Amy showed a skeleton. I gave them basically the skeleton. They weren't creating, the job was not to create the nonfiction, which would probably be a next step, and probably for some, even going into later on in 4th grade and 5th grade and 6th grade years. But I gave them a skeleton this time, and it was a lot of comprehension. It was understanding the basic comprehension passage I gave them enough so that they could add the appropriate examples to them and the appropriate text features. So I gave them 4 selections that they were chose from, so they were not writing their actual text.
Right now I do a file folder with just a book, but I'm thinking, and the students like that, but I'm thinking that I could do something like this and bring in technology, which I would like to do.
And I think this would be a really great way, since Common Core talks so much about integrating like cross-curricular social studies science. This would be a great way to give them something in social studies science that would be from the textbook or from one of the class kits, and then they have to break it down without all of those other things that are already in the book, so that they could do it.
Regina?
Hi, Jen, it's Regina. I just had a question about when they found the charts and pictures and graphs, the types of sources they used for them, and then did you have them cite their sources? It was hard to see. I mean, there was a lot of fine print on them. Did they cite their source right on the picture, or where did they actually find them?
Did you hear that?
I could not hear her.
Okay. So she was wondering where they went in search of the images and the charts and the diagrams, and where, if anywhere, did they cite their sources?
They did not cite their sources on this one, so if I do it again, definitely we probably will, but I pretty much gave them carte blanche on this one.
So they used like just Google, or was there a specific?
I let them pretty much just go.
Yeah. What I don't know about anybody else, but this made me think about it a little bit differently, because I always focus on using the text features rather than how would it look if you added the text feature. So taking the ownership of that, I think, would be pretty powerful.
I I felt like they understood why they were used a whole lot more than just, okay, this is an index, this is a glossary, this is a diagram. But now, after they did this project, I felt like they understood why the author actually was putting in the text for them.
Does anybody else have any questions? I think that we're good on the questions.
Okay.
We appreciate it. Thank you for causing us to think a little bit differently about not only using text features, but actually owning them so that it will empower them to use them more effectively.
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.